Welcome. On this channel, I do unscripted, unedited videos of Linux programming and stuff. Recently, I have been trying to relearn C and develop a kind of a game that will be unusual, I'm sure. In the previous video, I was working on a simple sockets app, that simple Echo sockets app. Just kind of taking a look at how that works in C. It's been a long time. No real surprises, just kind of worked through an example, looked up all the constants, and what the return values were and stuff, and kind of walked my way through it. Today, probably going to go off in a little bit different direction. So let's, so the game itself, define, I kind of started to define it in a previous video, but I'm calling it Space Captain, and it's simply going to be, think of it as a text version of EVE Online. That's a good enough place to start for now. I created the server repo here. I think it was probably off camera. I was experimenting a little bit with C tags. Haven't done too much with it yet. I probably will dig into it more later. The thing I want to do in this video is kind of establish a path that I'm going to take as I'm developing this that will help. It'll do a couple of things. It'll make the sequence of videos make more sense to anybody watching. It'll also make sure that I have a path. I mean, that's kind of a big deal, right? I kind of need to know. I need to be able to plan if I need to be able to do A before B before C, right? I want to jump back and actually start working the application kind of through the sequence of events that it would have to do as it was starting up. And so to do this, I don't know if this is, okay, so this is committed. My intention is to commit and tag for every video that I do, so anybody would be able to jump back. But one of the things I have going on right now is in Space Captain. Well, that is interesting. Okay, yeah, in the Space Captain file, we have all of this Echo socket code, and I just want to move it. I don't necessarily want to remove it. I just want to get it out of the way for the time being, and so I'm going to create a just an Echo C file. We're going to just change this to not main and never actually call it. Will that build this way? Yes. Okay. So let me grab this, and then with that, I don't need anything in here. Just a hello to make sure everything runs, and it does. Okay, so maybe I'll pull open the README here. So here I went and explained the game. Makes sense. I guess I'll not disturb this. Instead, what I'll do is I'll create a. I want to create a space where I'm just gonna create a notes.txt. We'll do it as a markdown file. Okay. Some of the decisions that I've been making is, okay, so what does the application do with it? Well, let's not go there. Let's start with, I currently intend to create a single, some high-level project stuff. I currently intend to create a single server example. And in the clients, we probably will end up creating multiple clients. So the most primitive client I'm going to do to start with is simply going to be a CLI client. And I'll probably do like a 2E client. I'll probably do a graphical client, and eventually these I may go do a web client. And so I do not like that autocomplete. I can't tab. There we go. Okay. Anyway, the point here is I may well do like a Windows client or a Mac client, right? I have no idea if any of this is true, but I'm kind of that's my intention. I want to experiment with cross-platform code. That's all going to happen over on the client side. In fact, all the experimentation is going to happen over on the client side. I may decide to write this code is going to be written in C, and I'm probably never going to. Well, I shouldn't say anything like this, but my intention in the near term is not to have many versions of this. My intention is that the client will have many versions. And I may well write these in very different programming languages and etc. But the server won't. Okay. That means that I have to package the clients in a way that other people can use them. So that's another way that they'll be approached, that they're different. Whereas this one, I only really ever intend for it to run on a Linux server. So I don't have to package it up in many different ways. I can kind of choose how I want to package it. Do I want to make, just a tar GZ that's installable? Do I want to make a Docker container? That's probably what I'll do. In fact, I'm just saying it now, it will be what I do. So this will only ever be delivered via a Docker container for actual use. And understanding how I'm going to do these things is important. So one of the decisions that I'm making right now is that this server is going to be is only going to use environment variables for configuration. So in local development, that will mean in local development, that means probably using dir env, which ends up being what, NVR or C files or whatever they are. And then in local, since it'll probably be running as a Docker container, we'll just set everything in, or in actual use, it'll either just be sent. It'll be sent in however I run the Docker container. So whatever scripting does that will pass in the environment variables we intend for it. That's important to know because this code then never has to deal with opening any kind of config file. It simply is going to read environment files. Now these, of course, will open config files. Usually in the user's home directory or whatever. Knowing this stuff, what I want to do right now is start to put together, the minimal pieces of these applications. Both. Do I really want to do the client now? Well, let's walk through what the server has to do. It's going to have to start. It's going to have to read environment variables because it's going to have to set up its config. The the most primitive. Okay, so let me think about this. The only way to interact with the server is going to be with the client. So it's going to be like lots of admin application, or it's going to be like a lot of server type applications. On first start, there's going to be a default user setup, you know, kind of an admin login, admin user, admin password. The what we probably want to do is have local. So first start only local localhost login for admin. And then that client that logs in locally will be able to set and modify the state. So even thinking beyond this, it might start out empty, but the program runs. It's going to read environment variables to set up its config. It's going to have to read program state, and then it's going to have to read the wall, the write-ahead log, and complete the state. Then it's going to enter a main loop. And in that main loop, it's going to be accepting connections. Accepting and processing connections. I think for the time being, that's generally how I'm going to look at it. And then the client is a little bit different, right? It's going to start. It's going to read. The order of precedence here should be read the config. CLI args should override that. I was trying to figure out in my head where the environment variables sit in this. So I think that so I think you end up with a chain, right, where the environment vars represent the lowest level of config setting. They can be overridden by the config file, which can be overridden by the command line args. So the client starts up, goes through that process to set up its config. It's going to basically just enter the game loop. And the game loop is going to be mostly it's mostly just going to be send commands and updating local state, something like that, and then waiting to shut down, but there's the clients are going to be very near to stateless, so there's not going to be much going on there. Okay, I'm not going to dig too deep into what's going on here with the client. I'm going to start just working on the code that is the server. So right now, right now, the only thing that happens when we run this is it says, hello, Space Captain. But what we need to work on, according to this, is we need to read in environment variables to set up the config. Now, I don't know exactly what the config is going to look like yet, but I imagine that we're going to have a struct representing the config. So that ends up, my C memory and syntax is so weak right now because I'm only a few hours into using it. But I believe that is going to be a type def struct. Do we need the name, or is it just name goes here? Is that? Okay, so that is close to right. So let's, for the time being, let's assume that the config consists of nothing but a single integer. What we want to do, since we are only going to be reading environment variables, we just want to read and set those. Let's so Midjourney ain't the place we want to go. How to read environment variables in Linux. That'll be good enough. I should ask it for an example, but or I should have just asked Google because this is slower. Print env, blah blah, ain't what I want. Yes, yes. Oh, let's what I want to do is create an example written in C of a program. I could have looked it up a lot faster. And in fact, in about 2 seconds, I will. Good enough. Okay. So we got functions. So this is just giving us a null terminated array of name value strings for the entire environment. Main can take a third argument, which gives us that. we're just iterating over it and printing them out. Let's actually just start with that. So that builds. So what's method 2 here? So here in method 2, they're just walking over environ and printing them out. The array is a little bit easier. So I think that the way that I want to do this is, okay, so here we have a get env call, and get env returns okay, so that just returns specific variables, and which is probably the easiest way to go. So let's so what's secure get env macro or glibc? Just like get env, except that it returns null in cases where secure execution is required. Secure execution is required if one of the following conditions was true when the program process was loaded. The process effective user ID did not match the real. The effective capability bit was the process was not empty. So we're not doing anything where security matters. We're running a game. And so we're not going to be using secure env. We will just be using get env. I'm trying to get used to reading these, but what I'm looking for is where it's what header file I need to pull in. I think that the response from Gemini, I think, said, I mean, it has a working example. So standard lib is where get env is. Why can't I see? Oh no, it's right here. I just missed it. So standard lib. So it takes the string pointer of the variable's name and returns back a character pointer to the value. And so let's say that the piece that we I mean, I'm just taking it because I know it's set, right? What we need here is we're going to have a config set. So config just so CFG dot this isn't what I want, that's what I want. So CFG dot path equals blah 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 path. And then I'll just put the CFG dot path. Expect expression before. I missed something there. On line 9. Semicolon? No. So, what am I doing wrong here? Expected expression before character. Oh, I copy pasted that and then never removed the return type. Okay, so it ran and it printed out the environment variable. So that basically works like we expect. So walking through our stuff, we can start the app. We can read environment variables. What we would probably do is, in fact, I'm just going to do it. Let's not do that. So I'm going to create. Oops. That is in Space Captain. So what I'm going to do is I keep stumbling over this keyboard. It's driving me bonkers. I think I finally figured out why the keyboard's just not right for me. It doesn't. It's not inclined enough, and my fingers kind of stumble into the wrong place. Okay, so this is config.c. What config.c is going to provide is a how do I want to do this? It's probably going to provide a config load. Which is going to return a I can't type apparently. There we go. Is that? There we go. Need to get rid of this buffer. It's hanging out. Okay, so let's also open config h. That will go there. This is going to return a config pointer, and it's not going to take anything, right? And then there will eventually be a void. I think that this will be different. I think I think that relatively strictly speaking, I'll change the int here. I think I want to take a path with my error handling where I'm always returning an error enum specific to the functions that I'm using. And the anything like the return values, if I can't express the return value as like a negative int or something, and maybe even then, I think always returning an error enum. Well, we'll see. In this particular case, I want to return an error enum. Config. So we're going to have those two functions. And probably functions, of course, to if we need them for manipulating anything. Split. I didn't get source main. I'm going to be stumbling my way through this a bit, but whatever. Include okay. I don't need that anymore. I think I'm really going to need that, but I'll leave it for the time being and say source. Space Captain. So the idea here is that I would create the config, that I would do something like result equals config load, pass the pointer to the config, or pass the address of the config. That I would, if okay, so I'm going to look the syntax up. What I really want to do is something like if result not equal to success, do X, right? And since we loaded that, we have to free it. So we're going to do config free, and we're going to, if I created this, I do not need a config free. So if this thing, I do think I prefer this. So there is nothing to free here, right? I create it. Is this going to grow to a point where I care that it's on the stack? I mean, if I cared about that, I might. I'll cross that bridge when I get there, right? So, okay, what I was just thinking, I'm doing a horrible job of doing a video right now. What I was just thinking is that I was just trying to decide whether I want this on the stack or if I want it to be allocated memory. If I was going to do it as allocated memory, do I have config load allocate it and then free it? I'm completely undecided. I think actually I am undecided, but I want to fix a different problem first. Programming in C enum. Pretty sure it's just enum name curly brace. Let's open source config.h, and what I want to do here is have a enum. I don't know what I'm gonna. I'll figure out a standard naming convention for this in the future, but it's going to be enum. If I have a single value, I don't think that I need the... Does this build? SOC does not support omitting parameter names and function definitions before CX20 whatever. So this is on line 4 of config. Oh, we don't, we have to provide parameter names. So, that's config. So I do think I'm going to switch this right now, and so that this is split intake source config. I think that we are going to have config free, and what's going to happen here is that we will config equals malloc size of config, and what's going to happen down here is simply going to be why is it so obsessed with freeing the path? Okay. And so what's going to happen here is we only need a config pointer. We pass that config pointer. And then here, if result is not equal to config success, failed to load, exit failure, that's good. Does that... all kinds of problems. So let's go to the top of the problems. Again, same thing. ISOC does not support omitting parameter names in function definitions. That is in config.c on line 4. Config.c line 4. Is it seeing that as part of... well, here, let's take a bunch of stuff out of here. Let's not do anything here. I don't get this. ISOC does not support omitting parameter names in function definitions. So that has to be an error. Oh, where is this? Config load. I missed it. Did I change it in the C file, but not the... I must have done that. Unused parameter config. Ah, thanks. Got to remember to conflicting types. Okay, so so what I want to do is I want to return a config result, and for now that'll be and I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but I was considering being quite pedantic about just always returning an error code, and it makes the code real consistent. And this is what I'm thinking now, and this is coming from a person who has not written any amount of C in recent history. But it seems like it makes the code really straightforward, effectively treating it a little bit like Go does everything, right? I would always be checking the return results. It's real obvious to me if that code's missing, if it's not there. So what do we get? Unknown type name, config result, use enum keyword. So returning an enum from a C function. Yep, so it's telling me I have to put the enum which I need to update these then. Oh, we got less errors. So on line 5, result is undeclared in space captain. So vsplit. I'm not actually going to make this code work in this video, but I'm going to get the structure of it right. So this is going to be a config result of type result equals unknown type config result. Config result is defined as, oh, would it need error expected expression before config on line 6. Expected expression before config CFG. So I'm passing so a couple things. I want to be consistent here and use CFG to represent the config and config to represent the type. And I got to figure out how I want to define types. Is it really... Yeah, I guess it is in C normally. Like if you think of the built-in types, int, whatever, they are just lowercase values, variables usually. Okay, so I would free CFG. But here, the thing I noticed was a second ago is, right, what I want to malloc is the size of the config struct. Okay, so CFG set but not used on line 40 of config.c. There is no line 40 of config.c. Line 4, character 40, config.c is here. Config set but not used. It is used because I'm assigning it to malloc. Config is a pointer. Did you mean to use the arrow on line 12 of Space Captain? So, warning, config set but not used. I'm going to ignore that for a minute. And then I have a warning for argc being unused. And then warning for unused argv. And the reality is I am no longer using any of those, right? And then now I have the warning for config unused. And again, this is a config C line 1. It's the same problem I had before. Am I actually seeing this code get pulled in twice? Oh no, it's being built 2 different times because I'm... okay, so that's something else I want to fix. I was seeing things in duplicate for a bit there. E on the make file, and I want a build target. So right now, I want to do... I keep typing build, and it's one of the normal things that I have. And it depends on... oops, I don't need to reload that. I actually have to create a build target. There we go. So now I can build one thing. Okay. Let's grab. Actually, let's do it this way. Let's take this window. Nothing to build, so I can clean. I can build. I get the one error, config set but not used in config. And that, I just don't get this error because, where's this damn code? Where is config set? Oh, I think I understand what it's saying now. I'm setting the value right here, but I'm not doing anything with it. Okay, so what does the internet tell me about that? But that is exactly what I intend to do with it. Blah, 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 it's Visual Studio. Hold it. With G++. Oh. I can enable specific warnings. You can request many specific warnings with the option -D. So I think it would be kind of a flip around, right? I would have to switch to kind of selectively so now like see, I didn't I do understand the error correctly. So now, like, if I build it now, I get no error, and it's because I actually use CFG. The thing is I don't need to use CFG. I just need to malloc to it. One way to flip this around then would be for me to say that I want to e-source main, not main, e-source space captain. So if I was if I malloc it out here, well, this is the code that I want. I actually do want to allocate the memory in the thing. Obviously, I need to error check that allocation, etc. I want to free it inside of this free that is the code, at least for now, until I understand why I'm doing something dumb. That is what I want. I think that the error, the switch then becomes instead of let me come down here. So here, let's reproduce. Make sure we're reproducing the error. So we're seeing the error again, right? Unused but set. I think that this is probably showing up in the extras, right? So if we libs are currently nothing. So if I so it's due to that the extra warning flags, compiler flag is why we're getting it. And so what that tells me is if I don't want that specific error, actually, can we what I could do is well, that's certainly not where I want to be. Well, let's do GCC docs dash. Oh, and then Google might be interpreting that as leave that out. What will probably happen, in fact, this is what I'm going to do for now, and I'm just going to come back to it. What will probably happen is that I will just selectively add most of the extra compiler flags back in, because that is not one that I want to see, and I really don't want my build output littered with warnings that I'm not going to be processing, right? It's going to confuse me about enough. It's hard enough right now for me to, I'm so early in my stages here of relearning C that it's hard enough for me just to do the basics, let alone have a bunch of extra errors being spit out at me that I'm not going to deal with. Okay, so let me break this down a little bit. I didn't really get very far here. I can go just a little bit further. Source config C. So the idea here is, oh, actually, this would have gotten rid of the error too, right? Because the whole point of doing this is that I was going to grab an environment variable. And so if I go back and look at split source config, right? So we define the config to have the path. Now I can actually go back and split makefile, and I can put those back because we're using it. Okay, so builds without error, or without warning. The basic idea here is, of course, that the program will have some struct defined that represents its configuration. That configuration I intend to, at least, load primarily from environment variables. Right, so down here we call load. We primarily set up that config by processing environment variables. I may in the future make it so that it also processes the command line parameters. That might also influence the config. Regardless, over on main side, oops. There we go. I don't always remember how to move windows around in Vim. Sometimes I got to think about it. On the main side, what we got going on is, of course, we have a pointer to config. This is just our... Can I do this? No, I cannot. Unexpected identifier, enum config. Oh, I can do that. Okay, so that does work. So I can define. It's kind of ugly. Can you do a type def with enums? This is getting weird, I know, but I'm gonna look anyway. C program. The importance of C enumeration, type def enum, blah, 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 main. Okay, so it looks like you can. So that would mean over here, what I wanted to do was this. Oh, go back to that window, move that window over. Type def. Do I need the... Okay, so this is the question part. I shouldn't be taking that. It's definitely not too technical. Type def. Okay, so I don't need the name twice if I'm doing it this way. So I should be able to do this. And then, what did I just do on accident? Now I should be able to say, hey, a config result, named result, equals that. But return type is an incomplete type on config.c. And so ISO-C forbids forward references to enum. Let's fix this first. Make it all consistent and see if I'm... Oh, that built. Okay, so let's... I want to get main... Where's main? Where's main? So here's main. I don't need the make file. So we got main there. Oh, that was dumb. Config H. So I have config C on the bottom. This is config H here. Okay. So I think this is a little bit cleaned up how I want it. Again, you know, this is coming from a person who has no real experience writing C in the last 2 decades. So I'm probably making the worst kinds of mistakes. But I have, I set up a pointer to that'll eventually hold the config. I call config load. It's going to go out. It's going to load the config. Now this could be anything in the future, and that's kind of, you know, the ideal, right? However it decides to load the config. But for the time being, the only thing that it's actually doing is allocating the space and copying some stuff out of environment variables so we can reference it. And then here, obviously, we're able to use the config after we've allocated it. And I need to be calling config free. I mean, I don't really, because the program's exiting right after that. But okay, so now if we run this, runtime, remember, blah, 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 the signal, blah, blah, blah. Unknown address of 0. And that's happening in main. I'm going to have to get used to reading these, and I don't quite see it. Member access within null pointer. So let's not use it. I'm just trying to reduce my footprint so I can writing to memory. So it has to be member access within null pointer of type struct config. I'm positive what's going on is that I'm just putting some random number there. I'm gonna have to look at this in the debugger, I think. Something's not working the way I think it is. I should be getting just a pointer with no value. I actually, oh, I see what's going on. I need to be passing the pointer to the pointer so that, let me think this through. Yes, this needs to be a pointer to a pointer. I need to be passing the address of that thing. Okay, so I'm only passing in a pointer. Okay, so I might end up having to work through this in the next video. So I said I get a pointer. I pass the address of the pointer. That's the thing that gets used like it's the pointer. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a look at this in the next video. So, but I now I get what I'm messing up here. It's some basic pointer thought. Okay, that wasn't the best of videos because I was lost in thought, but we'll pick this up with the next one. See you guys there.